Before we jump into the video, guys, I just want to say this is not me saying I'm always right, listen to me. This is just kind of my thoughts on the stamina in what I've experienced throughout the game. Obviously, I've been avoiding ranked and unranked due to the spam problem and just been fighting a lot of people from Discord and viewers of the channel because it's more fun for me to fight a variety of play styles and a variety of fighters, not everyone just using the same OP fighters. But please, let me know your thoughts in the comments down below if you agree or disagree. I do break it down into two parts, which I explain in a moment in the video, so yeah. Enjoy the video, and as always, please let me know your thoughts in the comments, and I'll catch you guys in the video. What's up, guys? Welcome back to a brand new video, and today we're going to be talking about Undisputed instead of playing it. I just want to say thank you for the support and the showcases where I've been trying to use every fighter and show you guys my first experience with them. Now, I made a video talking about the damage and it titled Let's Talk About the Damage in Undisputed, and I mentioned the biggest problems seems to be that it's not so much the punches, it's more that everyone seems to have just a rock hard granite chin. Traits mean very little. Everyone's chin resistance is stupidly high. I'm going to be making a whole video actually talking about fighter stats and fighter traits because I know this may make me sound really horrid, but I think that the fighters have been statted poorly. The updates have made it a little bit better, but I still think they're missing the mark big time. But that'll be in a different video. It's just something I want to talk about really quick. But anyways, for this video, we're going to be talking about the stamina and everything it entails in Undisputed. Now, of course, we are not... Well, we're coming to about week 3, the end of week 3 for Undisputed early access. We've had about 5 updates, which is great. And, hats off to the development team for really putting in the hard work to try and make the game the best it can be. Of course, some updates end up doing more damage than good, but they know that for next time. That's that's for me. I'm quite happy with these things going on. I've had times where I've had a few days off because the game's been a bit like iffy to play, but I still think there is major problems with the stamina and in turn the movement in the game. So to start with, I'm going to talk about stamina as a whole, and then afterwards I'm going to talk about movement and kind of the correlation to the stamina, or at least the lack of correlation there is right now. So first thing I want to say is the drain from body shots to stamina is wildly inconsistent. Sometimes you can have a fight and you'll talk to the person you fought afterwards maybe, and you'll say, damn, you were really hitting me with those body shots. I was gassing early. I wasn't even missing a lot. But more often than not, they don't do what they should. Someone can be missing 60% of their punches. They can be getting ripped to the bottom. Unless you're spamming body uppercuts. I'm talking about in a real... If you're actually having a technical fight with someone where you're landing maybe 10 to 20 body shots and 20 to 30 headshots per round, it just doesn't seem to do what it's supposed to do in terms of draining the stamina. In terms of, in essence, chopping the tree. You attack the body, so later you can attack the head. Whereas right now you attack the body and it doesn't matter. Now, I think the biggest problem lies with the recovery between rounds. I believe there should be a base amount that you lose between rounds dependent on the fighter. For example, someone like Hobie Price loses 4% of stamina regardless of what happens in that round. He loses 4% of stamina. Someone like Ali or Fury, who have higher stamina stats, lose a base of 2%. Now, of course, this is just an example. I'm not saying to set this in stone and go ahead. It's an example. And the reason I say that is because they lose a base of 4% or 2% or whatever. And then they lose stamina based on punches they miss, the body shots they ate, maybe it be power punches they miss, standard punches, hooks, uppercuts, whatever they may have missed on top of that. So if you have a really sloppy round with, say, Hobie Price, you may lose 7 to 11% of stamina, so you're going to need to adjust your game plan throughout that 10-12 round fight. Whereas right now with Fury, Ali, Sugar Ray Robinson, whoever you may use, I can confidently go into any fight right now, and I know that I'm going to recover between 3 and 5 or 6% stamina with any of those fighters. I know that I can use jabs and straights and hooks all round, land, a decent amount, not be too wild, and I know that I'll lose 3% and I'll gain back 3, and that'll keep me at 100. I know that for 12 rounds, I can maintain that 95 to 100% stamina, and I think that is where the problem lies. Now, I'm not saying this idea is absolutely flawless, because yes, you may have a perfect round where you don't miss, but just out of basic principle, I think until things are more sussed out, it should just be, you know what, it's a fight, they're going to get tired. Fighters should just have a base amount they lose, even if they lose a base of 2% and their recovery gives them back 2%. Because then you add on whatever you miss, whatever stamina you lose from missed shots, punches to the body, and then that extra 3% eventually affects you long term. So at least, even if you're Ali or Fury and you are just jabbing, at least come round 10, you've lost at least 30% stamina based on someone landing a few body shots and you missing that extra 3%. It's just a thought, but I think that's how it should work. Because right now it is so easy to abuse the system of just consistently jab straights, maintain 3 or 4% stamina, recover it between rounds, and you'll always just be on a constant motion of 95 to 100% stamina. Which of course in turn is benefiting, say, spammers that want to just throw same side hook shots. I mentioned that in my damage video with the same side hooks and why that is so beneficial right now and why it needs to be changed ASAP. But I do believe that there is definitely a problem there. Now, even when a fighter does gas, which brings me on to my next point of the movement, even when a fighter, a spammer, whoever, and the reason, before I jump into that, the reason I'm harping on kind of the point of we need to almost be gassing if we're being reckless in round 12 is because it encourages people to change up a game plan. If they are exhausted, they can no longer throw tons of combinations. Whereas I've been in fights where people have been Ali and they've been on 98% stamina, they've eaten 600 total punches in over the fight, and it's come round 11, they're absolutely fine and they're able to put some mean combinations together. So that's kind of why I'm kind of harping on it. I think that there should be no one in round 12 should be above 70% stamina, in my opinion. Maybe let me know your thoughts, but after 33 minutes of combat, should anyone really be about 70% stamina? Maybe not. Now, this next point I have made again and again and again, and people do seem to somewhat agree with me. I've not heard the devs talk about it in any way. I believe that stamina amount, as in long-term stamina that you have, should correlate to your movement. Now, here is an example. At 50% stamina or below, Canelo can no longer enter loose movement. At 25% stamina or below, Roy Jones Jr., Crawford, whoever's more of a mover, Fury, can no longer enter loose movement. So it right away eliminates that factor of if you've won 9 rounds but you're exhausted, you can no longer go into loose movement and skip around for those final 3 rounds, lose them all, it doesn't matter, you end up winning the fight even though you were exhausted, because it's impossible to cut off a loose movement fighter unless you're very experienced inside fight. I'm not saying loose movement is OP, that's not the case at all. Loose movement is very beatable, but it's very easy to use and very easy to abuse. But even without that, it's still so easy to circle around. So my other thought is maybe certain fighters, when below, say, 20% stamina, movement becomes less reactive. Your movement becomes slower, it's harder to shift those angles left to right. So it's easier for an opponent to cut off the ring. If they've been chopping the tree throughout the fight and you're gassed in round 10, you know you're winning though, but maybe the next 2 rounds are going to be tough, survival style rounds where you've just got to cover up and pray to God that you do not go down. Now, I mentioned this on Twitter, a theory of Crawford, being below 20% stamina, can't enter loose movement, starts to slow down, his movement isn't quite as reactive, maybe his shots are a little bit slower, but his guard is still strong because he's able to cover up. And someone on Twitter said to me, can you show me an example of where a pound for pound great like Crawford, like Sugar Ray Robinson, has been gassed in a fight and you've seen their movement slow down? And the simple answer is no, because Crawford, Sugar Ray Robinson do not throw 1,700 hooks per fight. They do not throw 700 body uppercuts per fight. This is a video game. Yes, if everybody played as realistically as possible and you had rounds where you landed 7 punches but you threw 32 like Bivol versus Canelo, where both of them had terrible accuracy, this point that I'm making would be irrelevant. But this is a video game. We need to learn to limit the tools of people that are going to abuse what is there right now. You should not be able to throw 1,700 hooks in the first 10 rounds and just be able to skip away. You just shouldn't be. It makes no sense to compare that to real life because no one is throwing 1,700 hooks. Yes, you've got fights where fighters have thrown 1,600 total punches, probably 600 jabs, 600 hooks, 600 uppercuts, whatever, fine. Just going to butt in real quick with this image. This happened the 29th of October last year, 2022. William Zepeda and Joseph Diaz. This was the lightweight record for the most punches thrown in a fight. Zepeda threw 1,536 total punches, landing 26% of those punches. 787 of those were jabs and 749 of those were power punches, which obviously includes hooks and uppercuts. I just want to show you guys this because this is not the kind of fights we're seeing. When we see fighters throw 1,500, 1,600, 1,700 total punches in a fight, we're not seeing 26% accuracy because it is a video game. We're still seeing that high 70%. We're not seeing 787 jabs being thrown. We're seeing 1,200 plus hooks being thrown. So this is just an example. If you guys want to go and watch this fight, you can see round by round Zepeda was busy all of those rounds, but still an incredibly low percentage landed and an incredibly high, about 50%, almost 50% bang on of those total punches are just jabs. Power obviously includes, I believe, straights as well, so straights, hook and uppercuts spread across the other 749. Just wanted to show you guys that quickly. Just an example, this isn't the world record for most punches thrown, but this is the best laid out image I could see of a current record. And this is at lightweight. We're seeing more punches than this being thrown in total in Undisputed right now in heavyweight divisions with fighters that were not known for throwing this kind of volume. But they're going to be exhausted, and in these fights where you see these fighters exhausted, a lot of it is their last few rounds, they're on the inside, both the guards up, just cover up, but they're throwing, you know, these 3 or 4 punch combinations every 10 or so seconds, so you're going to get tons and tons of volume. Plenty of misses, but it's hitting the guard. You know, that is what happened. But right now, we have 15-round fights. You can be on 12% stamina with Eddie Hall, and you can skip around fine. I done it. I've actually done it. I was at Fight and Fury, round 12. I was able to skip around with Eddie Hall on 12% stamina. That should not be happening. So my point is, low stamina needs to limit the tools you have, so you have to change your game plan. So then it makes it so if you have got an inside fighter versus an outside fighter, you either need to be very accurate and move like you should do as an outside fighter, or you need to learn to maybe lose a few earlier rounds so you can take those later mid rounds instead of just taking the first 8 and being completely gassed, but being able to skip around, popping out some shots and moving around absolutely fine. I just think it should limit the tools of the player, because not everyone is playing super realistic. That's just the way it is, and that is fine. If you pay for the game, it's your right to play how you see fit. But I don't think that everyone else should have to suffer because someone wants to throw 1,700 hooks per fight. I do believe it should start to slow down movement. I do believe that the movement should be less reactive. I do believe you shouldn't be able to create angles quite as quick, depending on, of course, a stamina rating for a fighter. But right now, everybody is on that same baseline. Everybody can skip around in loose movement, regardless of who, how exhausted, and fight style, and I just don't agree with that at all. Right now, stamina really only plays one part, and it's your vulnerability to being rocked. That's the only part it really plays, in my opinion. Of course, as well as your ability to put combinations together if you're absolutely exhausted. Those are the only two. I believe stamina should play such a vital part. I believe it should affect footwork. I believe it should affect volume you can throw. I believe it should affect the amount of damage you can take to body and head. You could make the argument for not head there because, you know, you're exhausted, but, you know, I suppose you could then argue, well, you know, if you're exhausted, you're kind of dizzy, you know, but regardless, maybe it's just a varied opinion. But right now, I still believe stamina is not quite doing its job. It is so hard to tell when a fighter is exhausted. When I used Joe Frazier against Ali, I messaged the guy afterwards, he messaged me, and we were talking about it. He said he was on like 18% stamina. Other than the fact he wasn't throwing a lot, I could not tell just based on how he was moving, because he was still skipping around with Ali. You could argue that's Ali, so that's fine. I've got no issue with these high rated fighters. My problem is, it is with everyone, and everybody can still enter loose movement regardless of how exhausted they are. And of course, it is a video game. You cannot put a gun to everyone's head to say, play as realistically as possible or I'm going to blow your brains out. It's just not the way it works. That's fine. But I think it should start to limit the tools. That then creates more interesting fights. It creates more interesting game plans throughout fights where you're like, okay, normally I'm gassed come round 8. I need to start changing up how I'm fighting, maybe lose those earlier rounds, or maybe just have those rounds be a bit tighter, start to take control. I know I can beat this guy, but he's wearing me down, he's chopping the tree. So right now, I think stamina needs to, when you're on low stamina, especially if you're having your body ripped to, your stamina needs to deplete very fast. You know, it's still a video game at the end of the day, and we need to make sure that it makes sense when playing. Whereas I'm often finding, and I'm sure a lot of you are, so many inconsistencies when playing that just don't make sense to me. I'm trying to understand, like, okay, I'll rip to the body, rip to the body, rip to the body. 8 rounds later, oh, we're still on 80% stamina. How is that possible? And so, you know, I feel like inconsistency is the biggest burden right now in this game when it comes to the stamina. But let me know your thoughts. You know, I spoke about the damage, and, you know, this is not me saying I'm right, listen to me, I'm always correct. This is me saying, what's your guys' thoughts on it? You know, you guys seem to agree with the damage thing. Some of you guys said that you disagreed with it, which is absolutely fine, and that, you know, that you found body shots almost useless, whereas I find body shots really useful, and they do a lot more damage than headshots, but they don't affect the stamina the way they should. Body shots seem to be more damage based than stamina based, and I feel like it should be 50-50 really. But Yeah, I suppose let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. I just want to talk about this really. I am going to do a whole review of the game as well, like my honest thoughts on everything from damage and stamina to overall gameplay to just everything about the game, because I've got some thoughts that I want to talk about. And, you know, don't get me wrong, I am finding the game fun, but I'm finding that there's some updates that are kind of ruining the game. There is ranked and unranked are still extremely unplayable and boring for me. Like, people say, oh, spammers easy to beat. They are, because they do gas pretty quickly because they just throw the same hand hook over and over. But it's boring to fight, if you get what I mean. It's boring to beat the same style. I want to have competitive competition where I don't know how this guy is going to fight. He may come up with a different game plan every single round. That is miles more fun for me than just fighting the same side hook spammers, or just left right hooks over and over again. It's just a bit boring, you know, especially when all the hooks are at range. If you've got an inside fighter and he throws 900 hooks, I'm okay with that. He's an inside fighter. That's what he does. I've got no issue with it. But yeah, I just feel like there's certain things that aren't being rewarded quite enough. You know, landing counters on low stamina fighters also is pretty inconsistent. But anyways, I just kind of wanted to have a bit of a ramble. And yeah, let me know your thoughts in the comments. Thank you as always for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.